Hi guys, it's Road Dog Speaks. Welcome to a wet, rainy Sunday afternoon. I thought I'd just do a very sort of quickish, about 20 minutes or so stream with you guys today. Because I was just sort of thinking about trying to answer, attempting to answer a question that I think if you watched last week's stream with myself and Angels, we sort of touched on it as to why is it that there appears to be now coming out of the woodwork a lot of ex-Tory voters who, we've been talking a lot about Partygate in the previous weeks and all the photos that are coming out. I think the most recent one was a photo of Boris Johnson and a colleague with tinsel around his neck and a bottle of Prosecco. I don't think that was a particularly new bombshell, but it just adds to the slew of wrongdoing, which is just being denied again and again. So there we are. But the real question that I wanted to ask is why is it that we seem to have people who have voted Tory all their lives, have been extremely loyal Tory voters, but it's only just recently that they've decided that enough is enough. They've seen enough, and they've decided that they are not going to vote Tory anymore, based on the corruption and the lies, and the parties and the lockdown rule breaking that has been seen to, be allowed to go on. In the past year or so, really. And I'm just trying to ask, like, well, why is it until just now? Like, why is the penny dropping just now? So I've got a couple of articles to show you on my screen share, and I've also got, I think, a couple of videos that I found of people saying, I conservative voter, and I'm not going to vote for them anymore because of X, Y, and Z reasons. So I'll share my screen with you now, and we'll just go through these articles together. Okie doke. So here's one. And this is a Guardian article from the 8th of February this year. So it goes, I voted Tory for 30 years until my dad died alone from COVID. I'll never forgive them. The pandemic has proved that the Conservatives have no interest in protecting vulnerable people like my father. This is a person called David Garfinkel, who is a spokesperson for COVID-19 Bereaved Families for Justice. So I grew up in a household where we all voted Conservative. I live in a constituency that has voted Tory for the past decade. And if you said to me a few years ago that I'd be voting for another party, or perhaps not voting at all, I wouldn't have believed you. But here I am, because after seeing how the Conservatives have handled this pandemic, I will never vote for anyone associated with this government. As for the Tory party, our 31-year relationship is over. Like many people growing up, I took my political cues from my dad. On the 11th of August last year at 3:03 p.m, he passed away after a short battle against COVID, a disease that lasted a mere 11 days from when he first tested positive. He was one of the millions of shielders in the UK who were given a stark choice on Freedom Day last July: stay a prisoner in your own home or risk your life when venturing out. He was 76 and double vaccinated with an underlying condition for which he took immunosuppressants, but he was full of life and vigour and hope. He wanted to live out his retirement safely and peacefully. And then came Freedom Day on the 19th of July. This was a politically charged decision to pretend COVID wasn't a danger anymore. My dad was as cautious as he could be. All he did was go to the shops to buy food and attend his medical appointments. Yet even that was enough to kill him. He was utterly let down by those in power, who he had trusted to make the right decisions and protect vulnerable people. Tragically, we are living through the whole process again, as the Plan B restrictions introduced to fight the Omicron variant are lifted in England, despite the fact there are still hundreds of people dying every day. I can't tell you how painful it is to think of other families going through the same trauma as mine, all because the same mistakes are being repeated in Westminster. Of course, any restrictions the government introduces in the future, if we face new, more dangerous variants, will probably be pointless. Who will listen to rules from a government that couldn't care less about obeying the rules themselves? My dad passed away from COVID-19 on his own, without his family at his side. We barely saw him during the previous 18 months, as we did everything we could to protect each other and our communities. We missed out on every family gathering. We couldn't see my dad when he was sick with COVID. He was so poorly when he caught the virus that I couldn't even speak to him. When he entered hospital, we couldn't be near him or help him. And once he was in the ICU, that was it. We spent hours trying to get someone to give us updates or find a doctor with whom we could discuss treatment options. But even when someone answered the phone, you could hardly hear what they were saying through all the PPE. We couldn't say goodbye, and that will live with me forever. Meanwhile, politicians and their advisors in 10 Downing Street were apparently breaking their own laws regularly and obnoxiously. Every news story about yet more Downing Street parties has been devastating for those who have lost loved ones to COVID. The pandemic has been unbelievably hard on so many people, but those who stuck to the rules can at least say we did everything to protect others. That's something that some of those working in Downing Street cannot say. Boris Johnson is a disgrace and an embarrassment. To hear him brag about his handling of a pandemic that has killed more than 175,000 people in Britain is nauseating. Several parties he allegedly attended are now under police investigation after he repeatedly insisted all guidelines were followed. Just as bad are the Tory MPs who keep him in power. The Prime Minister has lost all credibility. He has become a walking public health hazard who puts life at risk. But all the Conservatives seem to care about is how he affects their electoral fortunes. It's painful to watch them try to defend his actions. They disgrace their country every time they do so. I would love to believe that the problem is just Johnson, but the pandemic has shown that the rot runs much deeper. It goes to the heart of the Conservative Party. Why did they stick with the Prime Minister as his government stumbled from one pandemic disaster to the next? Why did they line up to defend Dominic Cummings when he broke lockdown rules and do the same again for Johnson? Ask yourself, who will they replace him with? Rishi Sunak, who has remained notably quiet about the Prime Minister's misconduct? Sajid Javid, who accused families like mine of cowering from the virus? A lifetime of voting habits die hard, and I know there are many Conservatives who will dismiss this piece, as I would have done a few years ago, but the Tories have shown that they're not interested in protecting ordinary families. They seem more like a knockoff version of Donald Trump's Republican Party than that of Winston Churchill. I urge you not to vote for them. So, a well-written article overall. I mean, to everybody who's lost somebody or somehow been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and has been bereaved and has been limited in some way, then I'm so sorry. It's been so difficult for so many people and quite traumatic for many others. So my heart goes out to this gentleman who has obviously had quite a hard and difficult time, in not being able to see his father. So there's one example, which is quite sad. And I've got another. Again, it's another Guardian article. You can obviously see where my bias is, can't you? This article was written a couple of months ago in December. It's basically just saying people in Yeovil, I think, are going off the Conservatives due to sleaze. So I won't read the whole thing. It's just speaking to some people who have completely gone off Boris Johnson because of his actions in Parliament and his decision making. Deciding not to carry on with COVID precautions. I think Yeovil's it says here that they've got a Conservative MP now because they voted for Brexit by over about 60%-ish. So he's got scandals over COVID rule breaking, second job MPs. So mean, yeah, I mean, it's all very, ex-Tory voters thinking about whether they should probably vote Lib Dem, for a change of scene. So yes, there's another example, and I've also looked up some videos, mostly of LBC callers, who are also ex-Tory voters, having second thoughts and calling in saying that how hurt they are and how let down, and oh my goodness, I didn't realise when I voted that this would happen. So you've got a number of calls. I mean, this James O'Brien one was particularly moving.
I feel like I've crossed the ultimate line, to be perfectly honest, in phoning your show this morning, because my politics don't align with your good self, James. I feel physically sick. I feel really, really hurt by what this man is doing. I've voted Conservative all my life. I'm 59. I believe everything for me is about how you manage finances and the economy. Right. I've never trusted Labour. But I think the office of Prime Minister is a privilege. It's the ultimate privilege. And I think it requires morals, it requires integrity. I'm pleased what she's done. I don't know the true reason why she's done it, and that's your question. I hope it's because a line has been crossed and everything is unacceptable. I don't have any love for Keir Starmer at all, but I want to criticise the man and his policies and his political behaviours. And to tell lies, scurrilous lies in this way, you can't have it. And I feel really hurt. I can't believe that we've got to this point in the Conservative Party. I voted for him. I wanted to get Brexit done. I thought he was the man to do it. I hold my hand up and say that I've turned my eye away from a lot. But I don't want to anymore. I want. I think the good man, it has to be a good woman.
Yes.
Of integrity and moral and truth has to lead our country. We are a fantastic country.
I agree.
We're a fair country.
Yeah.
We're a proud country. We're decent. We always have been decent. We stand up to lots of things that are wrong. But this guy has taken us. I don't know. I'm really upset.
I know you are. And that's why I'm going to be very respectful, even though I think a couple of the things you've said, people will be expecting me to pounce on like a cat, like the Downing Street cat. But you're struggling here. You're suffering, and I understand why. You've been profoundly let down by somebody in whom you'd placed a lot of trust and a lot of faith, and you're taking it very personally, I think.
I am. Well, I love our country. I think what was
it?
The Queen and her on her own, that image of her on her own at her husband's funeral. Well, these guys were. I don't even want to talk about it. To be honest.
Fair enough. Can I ask you one question then? I think if you clearly listen to the show a bit, so can I ask how can you possibly be surprised? Would you let me ask you that? No. I think I heard a click.
It's still stupid, James.
No, you're there. I lost that, mate. I don't know what happened to the phone line. Sorry. What did you say?
Feel stupid.
Well, don't feel stupid. Look, I mean, you know what I say at this point: contempt for the con, men, compassion for the con. But I am surprised at the scale of your surprise, because he told you who he was a long time ago.
It's not, James.
Yeah.
I don't expect our politicians to be squeaky clean. I think there is. The British public will put up with a lot if we get the job done.
Yeah.
But there are some things that we just won't accept. What happened to the Queen is not acceptable.
That's the thing that got you more than the lies about Keir Starmer. But it just speaks to a similar mindset, perhaps, or just an absence of what you and I would call values. And we might disagree about everything political in the traditional sense, but we probably agree on what we might call values or decency. And that's why I'm so surprised that you're surprised at the fact that Boris Johnson's never had any. That's all.
You know, I've heard what you do to people on the show, James, and I'm sure that you can take it.
I think we'll leave it there, because I think he's pretty much said what he wants to say. But so yeah, you saw that clip there of it was James O'Brien's LBC morning show, and I think he was just he wanted information from people who would usually have voted Tory, and for them to ring in and basically say, you know, why are you so surprised? Because that's my question. That's what I ultimately really want to know from these people who are like, oh, I can't vote Conservative anymore, or like after 30 years I've had enough, and I've seen, you know, so many bad things that they've done, and all the lies and all the rule breaking, Partygate, and it's just, why are you surprised? You know, there's a saying, I don't know if you've heard it, from is it Marie Angelo? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them the first time. Remember that, because it's basically saying, when, you know, it speaks for itself. When somebody, you know, when the mask slips for somebody who you know and have spoken to, and they've shown to you an extent of their actual personality, which is actually deeply unpleasant and something that, you know, is completely opposite to the values and principles that you hold, you should believe them. You should believe, you know, that version of themselves that they've just shown to you, and know that that is the real deal that they've just shown to you. And then you should not, you know, try and put up with being their friend anymore, because, you know, it's people like Boris Johnson, and also people like Donald Trump as well, who are just, they're just deeply narcissistic, selfish, corrupt individuals who are just out for themselves every single day. And it frustrates me a lot, because these people who are ringing into these talk shows and who are writing articles saying how deeply distraught they are at how, you know, the scales have just fallen from their eyes, and they can't believe how stupid they were and how hurt they are, and all the rest of it. They're like, oh my goodness, oh, I voted for Boris Johnson, never again, never again. And I'm just like, well, excuse me, but, you know, the Conservative government has been in power for about 12 years now, and the suffering that they have inflicted on many people, well before you've decided to become shocked and appalled at their behaviour, have had to put up with just so much suffering. I mean, take the disabled community as an example. They have had to face personal independence payment cuts. So they, you know, anything that they need or require has become so much more difficult for them personally to live their lives in a decent way. So, you know, anything they might need, wheelchairs, for example, breathing apparatus, hoists, carers, that's become much more difficult, because, you know, the Tories have decided that, you know, disabled people don't really matter, and they're going to make their lives as difficult as possible by cutting the amount of benefits they're entitled to. So that's just one example. You've got homelessness, which is pretty much tripled, possibly quadrupled over the past 12 years. So, you know, when you go into town and you walk past, you know, homeless people sitting in doorways with the little dogs possibly, you know, you should feel guilty because, you know, people that voted for the Tories allowed this to keep on being perpetuated. NHS, that's another big one. A deliberate defunding of NHS services and introduction of private contractors, cleaning, for example, admin. You know, you can see it in dentistry. That's the reason why, you know, you've got, well, partly because of COVID, but also the waiting lists are so long. But yeah, so no, those are just a few examples, and it's just, why are you so surprised? Why are you surprised? I mean, I'm gonna say it. You're complicit. You have been complicit in causing this country to just slide so badly downhill, whether it be Brexit, whether it be austerity, and you consistently carried on voting to make people's lives worse, just because it's not your own. Just because at the time you might have been, oh, well, I'm all right, Jack, it doesn't matter, I'll be okay, and things aren't affecting me at the moment, so I'll be fine. I mean, it's that sort of selfish outlook on life where you go into the polling booth and you don't think about your own community and what your community might actually need or want. And you just think, oh, what's best for my interests? And it's just like, I don't get it. I don't understand that mindset. Like, when I go into the polling booth, fairly pointlessly, I might add, because my constituency is heavily Tory, and you know, they might as well all vote for a bucket of cold sick with a blue rosette on it and it would still get in. That's how pointless my left wing vote would be. But yeah, I just despair. I really do despair at, you know, people's quite selfish outlook on life when, you know, you've had 12 years of Tory austerity, so much suffering on, you know, many marginalized groups in society, and it's only just now that people are like, oh my god, I can't believe that the Tory government that I voted for would do this. Why would they do this? Like I said, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Like I did. And I know that sounds condescending and patronizing, but what the hell? So yeah, that's why I just get so angry, because it's just, I mean, Boris Johnson was always a liar. He was always a liar. He's been sacked twice for lying, and he almost on a daily basis now goes into Parliament, stands up and lies, and or smears or says a mistruth, and you know, just look at the COVID handling, the PPE contracts, and the sheer you know, self-interest and the corruption, you know, giving contracts to mates. I mean, God, it just smacks of just steaming corruption. I mean, he tried to prorogue Parliament, which was deemed unlawful, and no one was punished. I mean, just take that as, you can take that as one example if you want, but apparently that's fine. That's fine. We'll still vote for him. We'll still vote for him. It's almost laughable. I'm finding it funny that at this point, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, I think. But yeah, I just like to say hello to the people in the side chat. Miles, who's here, I think, and also Van Man Talks, who does a great channel on his YouTube site, by the way. which you should check out. He says, I'd say 80% of people I ask why they voted Tory in 2019 will say they did not like the Tories but hated Corbyn far more. I also do not understand that either. I mean, someone needs to explain this to me as well. When people talk about like I couldn't have voted for Corbyn, like I couldn't stomach voting for Corbyn. Why is that? Why is that? Someone explain. I mean, I might be being a bit dim, but I mean, I'd have voted for Corbyn any day of the week if it was up to me. I mean, I know that he got like probably the worst smear campaign in all of media history thrown at him. And I know that he, you know, nobody's, you know, perfect in many ways, but you know, he's far better than Boris Johnson, I believed. But you know, someone can explain that to me if they want. But yeah, it's just I'm quite stumped. So I think in my attempt to explain why people are now suddenly having the penny drop moment is that I think based on the 2 years of COVID that we've had and the absolute misery and you know, proper suffering that people have felt in their personal lives, I think that when they see you know, the people that they elect to govern them, you know, having proper knees up parties when, you know, it's been expressly forbidden to do so, and they're the people that have been making those rules for us to follow, it directly has an impact upon ourselves because we can see the hypocrisy that they are, you know, showing an example of by going against the rules that they have set. And, you know, that becomes very relatable and it makes people very angry and it makes people look like idiots when, you know, people in power are having parties and getting wasted and not caring about the rules, and everybody else has to, you know, stay indoors and follow the rules. And you can understand why then people feel a little bit silly, more than that actually, and start questioning, you know, whether the people in power actually give a crap, which is what has been going on for the past few months. And I think people, you know, the general conversations that, you know, Tory ministers are having is that, you know, oh, people in the real world don't really care about parties, and they just want us to get on with the job of getting on with, you know, running the country, and there's more important things, and of course there are. There's lots of reasons to want to deflect from the really poor job that you're doing, and you'll want to be talking about something else because you want to move on from the embarrassing experiences that, you know, people think that, you know, you've done really bad things that have pretty much, people think that you've, you know, made a mockery of them and betrayed them, which you have done. So I think that's what the main reason is, that people feel angry, because it was a very traumatizing period. You know, I can speak for myself. It was extremely traumatizing, and many other people, you know, people not being able to go attend funerals or visit care homes or visit loved ones, things like that. So you can understand why people then feel angry at the sight of a bunch of, you know, Downing Street workers and Prime Minister being involved in lots and lots of parties, pretty much a party a day by the looks of it. They got sucked in by all the poison in the press. Communist. Oh, okay, yes. Thanks for that. So yeah, so if something becomes relatable to you and then has a direct impact upon yourself, and it's something that you can tangibly understand, then of course it would make you very angry. Obviously, like, I understand that, that the Partygate scandal was something that everybody could relate to and get angry about because it made them look like mugs, and it just it made people feel like they were being taken for fools, whilst the government and people working for the government had a right old good time, which was against the rules, and the people that were making the rules were putting two fingers up at the public, basically. And I think that's why it's so visceral. The anger is so visceral. So that's my explanation of why it's taken people so long to get angry when they should have been angry much a long time ago. They should have been angry a long time ago. And they have pretty much, the people that have been voting for the Tories, and I'm sorry, like, my sympathy only extends a tiny amount, because I'm pissed off as someone on the left who has been screaming and shouting from the sidelines for so long, and people not really caring, people not really listening, being called lefty, liberal, loony, snowflake, every lefty slur under the sun. And it's just now. Why is it just now that people notice? Because it's people who are having a self-realizing moment of, oh my god, the Prime Minister has lied. Shock horror. Really? Someone who has been a proven liar has lied. Oh my goodness. Call the police. We already have, but they don't want to investigate. Oh, let's send them a questionnaire. Fill out this form and we won't arrest you. Oh God. It's such a mess. But yeah, half an hour's gone. I think instead of rambling on further, I think we'll leave it there. For the time being, thank you all for everyone for watching. My channel is Rodog Speaks. I'd love it if you subscribed to my channel and also give this a thumbs up so that it gets seen by more people, hopefully. And yeah, power to you, folks, and I will see you soon. Bye.